Welcome to the Year 6 lesson for Part Unknown or Whole Unknown problems. In this lesson I'm learning to identify whether a question requires me to use the Year 6 Part Unknown strategy or the Year 6 Whole Unknown strategy. Let's start with this question here. A bus has 48 seats. The bus company has sold 6/8 of them. How many seats have they sold? Now we need to use that information to help us fill in the gaps in my equation over here, and by doing that we're going to work out whether this is a whole unknown or a part unknown question. Well, I'm going to start by imagining this bus, and it says that it's got 48 seats and that they've been split into 8 groups, and I can get that from the denominator. Now I could imagine that, or I could draw a little picture to help me imagine that, and this picture here represents the 48 seats split into 8 groups. And I'm going to write that fraction into my equation. 6/8. And I can see that I'm interested in 6/8 of those groups, and I got those 6 from the numerator here. So now I need to go back to my question and work out, does that 48, does that represent the whole amount or just part of the amount of seats available? Well, if I look back at this question and read it again, I can see that they're talking about a bus that in total has 48 seats, and they've just sold part of those seats. They've sold 6/8 of them. So because 48 is the whole amount of seats, I'm going to write 48 in here. And straight away you can see that we're missing the part, so it must be a part unknown question, and I can solve it using that strategy. So I'll go down a little bit. So my first step is going to be to share those 48 seats between the 8 groups that the denominator told me. So 48 divided by 8 is 6. So if we think about my diagram here, we're imagining that every one of these sections has got 6 seats in it. Now my numerator tells me that they've only sold 6 of those sections. And again, you can see that on my diagram. It's the area that I've drawn a red circle around. So 6 of those groups, and there's 6 seats in each group, which means in total they've sold 36 seats, or 6/8 of 48 is 36. Let's try another question. Let's look at this question here. An airport has loaded 56 bags onto a plane. That's 8/9 of the luggage. How much luggage do they have to load in total? Well, I'm going to start by drawing out a little diagram which represents that 8/9 fraction. So I'm going to draw a rectangle that is 9 boxes wide. And the reason it's 9 boxes wide is because my denominator tells me that the luggage has been split into 9 groups. I'm just going to draw little lines down here to make sure it's in 9 groups or 9 separate sections. Now my numerator tells me that I'm interested in 8 of those sections because they've only loaded 8 out of those 9 groups. So I'm going to start by writing that fraction into my equation up here. 8/9. So now I need to go back to my question over here, and I need to work out those 56 bags. Do they represent all of the bags, the whole amount, or just some of them, or part of the amount? Well, the clue is really in this second sentence here. Notice how it says that is 8/9. It doesn't say that is all the bags, or that is 9/9, or that is the total amount. So those 56 bags must be just some of the bags that they have to load. So since it's just some of them, I'm going to write the 56 down here, which means we've got one section left, and that's the whole. So that means that this must be a whole unknown question. So I'm going to solve it using my whole unknown strategy. So you can see from my numerator that those 56 bags were shared between 8 groups. And if you look at my diagram, I'm looking at the red section there. I'm imagining sharing those 56 bags into these 8 groups here. Well, 56 divided by 8 is 7. So on my diagram, I'm imagining that every one of these groups has got 7 bags in it. Now my denominator tells me that in total they need to load 9 of these groups. So 9 groups of 7, because there's 7 bags in every group, and 9 groups of 7 is 63. So 8/9 of 63 equals 56. So to answer our question over here, they have to load 63 bags in total. Let's have a think about the important things to remember in this lesson. Well, I like to start by writing out an equation here, and I leave some spaces. I then come back to my question and look at all the information that they've given me, and I use that to fill in the blank spaces in my equation. And I'll always be left with one space, and that tells me whether it is a whole unknown problem or a part unknown problem. And then I just solve it using the relevant strategy. You can find the activity sheet that goes with this lesson in the Teacher Tools Fractions, Decimals and Percentages book from the Whitebook collection.